Why is Tartaria making the internet go crazy? Check out these old maps. Why does Tartary keep coming up over and over again? And what's so fascinating about it? Well, in this episode, we're going to try and find out. I am here to tell you the story of a secret empire that many believe has been hidden from our eyes. According to viral videos on TikTok and YouTube, this empire is so big, it spans continents and even hides underground. It's no surprise that this has racked up millions of views. But is there any truth to it? Let's find out. In a few moments, I'll be heading out to investigate one of the most bizarre conspiracies surrounding this mysterious empire. But first, let us rewind the clock all the way back to 2014, when anonymous user, Atlas Protac Helper, uploaded this image to Reddit. It's a map published in 1819 that labels a massive region stretching from eastern Poland through Russia into China as Tartary. This post immediately set off a chain reaction, triggering countless videos and theories on YouTube. Many claiming that this area was once home to an incredibly advanced civilization which developed technologies that were far ahead of their time. But first, let's start with the basics. What exactly is Tartaria, in simple terms? Tartaria or Tartary was a name used on Western maps from the 16th to 19th centuries to describe vast areas of Siberia, Central Asia, and parts of Europe. But according to conspiracy theorists, this vast region was actually a highly advanced empire that stretched from Poland to Japan and was home to millions of people. Unfortunately, they claim that this great empire was wiped out by a worldwide catastrophe sometime in the 18th or 19th century, and it was buried under mud, literally. That's why it's sometimes called the Great Mud Flood. One of the most popular pieces of evidence cited by Tartaria enthusiasts are old photographs of buildings where the upper portions have sunk below ground level, leaving only the window frames visible above the surface. Some believe that this could have occurred naturally due to soil subsidence, though others argue that this is just an elaborate cover-up to hide the true nature of Tartaria. In fact, this image taken from an excavated lower level of a building in Prague, Czech Republic, shows windows and doors which are clearly much higher than the current street level. This suggests that the entire city might have been reconstructed at some point in time. To make matters even more confusing, this incredible photograph taken at the corner of Wells and Clark Streets in Old Chicago shows what appears to be a basement window on the second floor of this building. How can this be possible? Some say it's proof that our history books are full of lies. Others say it's nothing more than a very large and very deep basement window. But there's so much more to this story. As we dig deeper, we begin to uncover even more bizarre details about this lost empire. From St. Isaac's Cathedral in Russia to the old city of Berlin, Germany, we can see hundreds of stunning examples of old buildings which appear to have been constructed in a similar manner. But why did they build them this way? Was it to hide their advanced technology, or are there more rational explanations behind these designs? Let's take a closer look. Here's one of the most mind-boggling examples of Tartarian architecture. This is St. Isaac's Cathedral in Russia, which was completed in 1858. It contains some of the most beautiful domes in the world and rises 101 meters high. This makes it the fourth tallest building in St. Petersburg and the largest Orthodox cathedral in the world. It is truly breathtaking and well worth visiting. But what caught our attention is its massive columns and huge arched windows, which seem almost alien-like in appearance. But let's not forget about the grand neoclassical structure of the New York Public Library. With its majestic steps and ornate architecture, it's hard to imagine that something as mundane as dirt could have covered it up. Yet some believe that this is exactly what happened. As we continue our investigation, we come across even more curious examples of Tartaria architecture. Just look at this one. Who really built these magnificent structures? Was it the modern societies we know today, or a long-lost civilization that thrived in a place called Tartaria? Some people say yes, while others remain skeptical. Regardless, we must admit that these buildings are truly impressive, and they continue to baffle experts and conspiracy theorists alike. To further fuel the mystery surrounding Tartaria, there are countless old photographs which seem to show streets and entire buildings buried under thick layers of mud. It's hard to believe that such catastrophic events could have occurred so recently in history, yet left virtually no trace in mainstream accounts. However, it's important to remember that not everything we see online is true, and many of these images may have been faked or taken out of context. For example, This video, posted by user Eric Storm 83, shows what appears to be an entire street buried under mud, complete with trees and parked cars. It's truly amazing, but when we look closer, we can see that the image was actually created using So what started out as a genuine conspiracy theory has now become a breeding ground for misinformation and hoaxes. Many conspiracy theorists claim that the reason we don't learn about Tartaria in school is because the government wants to keep it a secret. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. According to historians, Tartaria never existed as a single empire or civilization. Instead, the term Tartaria was a general name given by Europeans to describe various nomadic tribes and regions located east of their own lands. Another popular theory is that Tartaria was a highly advanced empire that used electricity and other modern technologies, but there is no evidence to support this claim. In fact, all the so-called proof offered by conspiracy theorists can be easily debunked using simple common sense. For example, they often cite the existence of power lines as evidence of advanced technology, but these were likely installed during the reconstruction of cities after the destruction caused by World War II. But the biggest piece of evidence against the Tartaria conspiracy is the fact that old maps showing Tartaria are typically labeled as such. If these maps are genuine and were made before the alleged mud flood, then it's highly unlikely that an entire civilization would have been erased from view. But wait, there's more. According to historians like Timothy Snyder, the idea of Tartaria as a lost civilization is rooted in anti-Russian sentiment, particularly among Americans. Snyder argues that by claiming Tartaria was wiped out by a mud flood, conspiracy theorists are essentially repeating Russian propaganda from the early 20th century, which sought to downplay the role of non-Russians in the history of Eastern Europe. However, despite all this evidence against the conspiracy, some people still believe that Tartaria was a real empire that was destroyed and buried under mud. They claim that the powers that be want to hide the truth from us because they don't want us to know how advanced our ancestors were. But the truth is, we will never know for sure. So what do you think? Do you think history has been hidden from us? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's move on to something else. And that's a wrap on another episode of Tartaria Exposed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out more content. And if you have a theory about Tartaria that you'd like to share, join the conversation by dropping your thoughts in the comments below. That's right, history buffs and conspiracy theorists alike are scratching their heads over this one. Is Tartaria real or just a myth? What do you think? Alright, history buffs and conspiracy theorists alike, drop your theories in the comments below. We're dying to hear what you have to say. And if you're still thirsty for knowledge, be sure to check out our other content. Who knows, you might just learn something new. So click away and expand your mind. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. We'll catch you next time.